I'm going to make a beginner house music tutorial again, but this one will be better. I didn't even record audio from the laptop during the last beginner house tutorial. We're gonna be using stock FL sounds and as many stock FL plugins as we can, so you won't have to download anything, but whatever I use, I'll put it down in the description. So anyway, yeah, let's get straight into it. Okay, so this is when you open up FL Studio. I have set it up so that when I open a new project, I'm opening up a new basic 808 with limiter. So you go new from template, minimal, basic 808 with limiter for this tutorial. So you're gonna put down a pattern, and in this pattern you see you have your 808 kick, clap, hi-hat and snare. I want you, if this is really your first time in FL Studio, just to play around. This channel rack is great for practicing rhythm. So for example, you can put down a kick and a clap, and then a kick and a clap. Let's hear it. Sounds great, doesn't it? I think we'll be working around 126 today because we're going to be making house. Usually a house pattern is 4 on the floor for kick and then 2 claps. So it'll be, and there you go. You can basically already hear a very simple house beat. I'm gonna open a new pattern by simply pressing the plus or dragging down while you're hovering over pattern. Put it down, and let's add some nice grooves with the other sounds that we have here. Together. And when you want to switch from your playlist to your patterns, this switch up here will do that. So the pattern will focus on what you've just put down in your pattern, in our case pattern 2. And when you switch the song, you can actually hear the playlist, or you can click anywhere on the playlist itself to switch to the playlist. So let's hear it. Quite simple. Now often you'll find you want to switch sounds around. In fact, it's basically what you do all the time. When we open up our file, we had these 4 sounds: the 808 kick, clap, hi-hat and snare. If you want to find more sounds that come native to your FL Studio, just open the packs. I really believe that the drums folder and the legacy folder have some gold in them. When we check the drums, so if we want to switch out this hi-hat, for example, in our pattern 2, I'm going to switch it out for a 909 open hi-hat. So you just drag it on. You simply click and hold and drag it on to the one you want to switch it to. Let's hear it. This is where we're gonna want to be using our mixer. This button right here opens up our mixer. It looks quite daunting at first, but just remember that the numbers on the pattern, these ones, correspond to the numbers on the actual mixer. This will make sense in a second, but we're gonna be moving all of these numbers up by 1, so that we're not using number 1. So now if we check, simply pattern 1, we're playing 2 and 3. And as you can see, 2 and 3 are having sounds come through them. Let's check pattern 2. Indeed, it is going through number 4. Let's pause that. The reason why I left 1 open is because I want to right click it, dock to left, right click it again, rename, sidechain. Have you turned off the camera, mate? So we've got our sidechain, which is an amazing tool in house. In fact, it is almost essential, and we'll be using it at a later stage. We're going to be putting 4, so when you follow the cable, essentially, it goes into your master. When you press this button, you unplug it from your master, and you'll check when you press play, there's no more sound coming through that one. But now when you're engaging it, so when you're on 4, you can reroute it into something like your sidechain, which right now does nothing, but it will do something in a second. I believe this hi-hat is kind of loud. 2 ways to put it down really quickly is by clicking on the actual sample, lowering the volume on that volume knob, or lowering the volume on the mixer, like so. What we want to be doing right now in our mixing, because we're mixing as beginners, we will be turning off the limiter, because this fruity limiter does things to your sound that is difficult to get into as a beginner. So let's turn it off. Right now our song is quite short. To increase it, we can simply highlight it, and if you're using a Mac, simply press Command B to double it, or Shift click it to duplicate it as well. You can also highlight it, a copy, and paste it, and then drag it to where you want it to be. We want to just simply make a build up and a drop. So let's move this 8 bars to the right, and we might actually be off. Therefore we zoom in and move it on grid. Your grid is decided by this magnet button over here. Let's move right into a more exciting field. That is the actual bass line. For that, we're going to be opening up another pattern and placing it down. I'm going to disengage the step sequencer. So we now have what we'll introduce you to now, the piano roll. We're going to open a 3x oscillator under Synth Classic. We're going to be turning off the bottom one with this knob, and we're going to be putting both of the coarse pitches to -12 semitones, like so. Now if we just press any button on your keyboard, like Q, which is the C tone, you'll be able to hear and see your wave over here. Let's do that 2 octaves down. In fact, we can also just move it an octave down by moving it 12 more semitones down. And if we want to play around, you can have fun with the detune knob, which, as you can see, makes the wave look a lot cooler as opposed to. So detuning simply changes the speed of one of the oscillations. Now if we want to switch the waves, we're using sine waves as it is. We can use saw waves. So they're a lot sharper and a lot more present in the high end. This is what we're going to be working with right now. With these settings, we can simply go into the piano roll by clicking any empty space on the channel rack, and you'll see your piano. We've got basically 10 octaves to work with, C5 being the middle one. We're going to be putting down some bass notes. Now if you know music theory, then this should be a breeze for you. I do not. I usually just play around and just find something nice. And once we're kind of happy with the bass line, let's open the mixer again and drag this onto any available one. Now when we press play into the song, now let's actually work on the sidechain. To do this, I'm selecting the sidechain, going on to the slots of the sidechain, pressing slot 1, select, putting it fruity balance, then going onto your playlist, highlighting one beat, click the fruity balance again, right click the volume, create automation clip on the volume, getting rid of the loop, highlighting it, copying it over the beat. The idea is every single kick, punch, cuts a hole into the volume of everything that is being sidechained. So now if we hear it, it might be a bit too heavy right now, so let's make it shorter. Now let's make some hats, because house always has nice hats. Let's open the same pack here. Let's drag it on to a new one. Open the mixer. Give it a number. call it hat. Right click it, fill it every single 2 steps. We're gonna open it, highlight everything, slightly offset it to the right. You can already see that sounds a lot better. Highlight every single on beat hat, lower the volume of that. We're going to copy paste it, lower it even more. And simply move these around to get groovy places. Like that. To solo the hats, simply right click the light on the mixer. And we're gonna add effects to this. This will be the first introduction to effects. As this tutorial goes along, we're gonna be more complicated and quicker. Do leave a comment below if you're watching this and you got confused at some point, so I can improve the tutorials for next time. We're going to add some delay. We're gonna move the time knob down. And that's it. Now on the same pattern we can add multiple sounds, of course. So for some nice older sounds we're gonna click the legacy, drums, vintage. Gonna drag this one on, put it to number 8. And on every single middle hit. Here's where we'll start EQing, which is a very important thing to do in music production. We only want the high end of this open hi-hat, so we're gonna open a slot in the effects and open the Fruity Parametrics EQ2. Go to number 1, right click, type high pass. Right click again, order steep 8. Then adjust it as you want. Listen in and cut any high mids that you don't want. We're gonna go on to the bass as well. Open other parametrics. Boost the low mid, as we're lacking that. And cut off all the sub. You may find there's no sound left, therefore we will now compress what we do have to boost that up, simply by using a Fruity Wave Shaper. In doing so, we found we now have some high end we do not want. So you know what to do, we're going to cut that off with a low pass. Like so, and I think we can boost this one. Let's hear it now. There's probably no bass left, but we're going to be adding the sub back with a separate sub. Yeah, like I thought. So let's do that now. Let's add another. And this will be our sub, which we're also going to do with the 3x oscillator. Let's call it sub. And let's put this into the sidechain as well. Now let's copy the bass notes. Let's put it into the sub. Let's highlight it all. Make it ever so slightly shorter. This Parametrics EQ is sub only. Let's go back to the bass. Let's make it a bit more gritty with Fruity Blood Overdrive. Let's also add a fast distorter. Before we press play, turn down that mix a lot. So I think we got a quite nice groove going on. Let's boost our kick-up. Let's bring up the high end of the clap. And we have a nice drop. Now let's start working on the build-up. We're going to introduce some elements of the drop in the build-up, like the hi-hat and the bass without the sub. This is why we've separated the sub and the bass. And when we found that we do not have the clap separately, what you could do is get the kick and clap in pattern and simply make unique. So now we've moved every single pattern up by 1, as you can see, and we have a duplicate of pattern 1 that is now called pattern 2. When we open pattern 2, we can make changes. Yeah, we can make changes without affecting pattern 1, like soloing the clap. We're gonna open a new pattern and have some 808 snares. We're gonna put it down as fill each 2 steps, then copy paste those. Move it to where we want them to be. Now let's hear it. Quite boring. So we're gonna go on to the actual snare, call it snare, and while we're at it, we might as well name the rest. So we're gonna go onto the snare and add a parametric EQ. Right click the lowest band, make a high pass, make it steep, move it up, right click it here, or you can also move it, create automation clip. Now I've got that. We're gonna be moving it down. So our finishing point will be the end of the play over here. Our starting point will be the beginning. We're starting it like this. We also want to be slowly introducing the bass line. We don't want it to be hitting as hard from the beginning. So we're also going to high pass that. Same way we've just done to the snares. We're going to be adding a respace. We're also going to be doing this in 3x oscillator, and we're just going to be using saw waves. Detuning it slightly. So we've only got these 2 oscillators. Let's drag it on to a new track. Track 10, we'll call it insert 10, sorry, we'll call it Reese. Move it into the sidechain, and we're going to be putting down the bass line. Then simply parametrics EQing the high end out. Now we're going to be using a love filter. We're going to be automating the resonance from high to low, and we're going to be automating the cutoff from low to high, which means we'll be hearing the low frequencies and then the highs will start coming in. If you will excuse me, I have to wait for my computer to cool down because it's overheating. Now let's put on a Fruity Reverb 2. High wetness, low dryness, high decay, no bass, high size. These are the settings I like. Then automating that from dry mix to wet mix. Let's chop these. This is more experimental stuff just to build up. And from this point on, you can do whatever the heck you want. I almost didn't save that. That's one of the main things you guys gotta do. You've got yourself set up with a basic house beat. Hopefully you can work from here. I'm currently compiling and working on a new album, which I'm really proud of so far, and I think it's gonna be great. It will come out on the 4th of August, and we're almost at 100 subs. It's kind of cool. Thank you for watching this video. Peace.